everyone, welcome back to Coffee Shots. Today, I have another disability article for us to read, and it also has to do with COP26. So let's get right into it. Apparently, the minister from Israel, who has, I believe, muscular dystrophy, I think it says in the article, she's in a wheelchair and was unable to attend the at least the first day of the COP26 meeting because it was not wheelchair accessible. Well done, UN. Well done. Let's start reading this article. I do apologize. Come on. There we go. So this says, COP26, wheelchair-using minister unable to attend summit. So this was published 2 days ago, so November 1st. Or I apologize, November 2nd. So this is the lady from Israel. I believe it's the Israeli Environment Minister, Karine El-Hur, I believe is her name. An Israeli minister has said she could not attend the COP26 summit on Monday because it was not wheelchair accessible. Yeah, that's an issue because I'm pretty sure that she's not the only minister with a disability. There are more disabled politicians. So this really should be a thing here. Kareem El-Hur tweeted that it was, quote, sad the UN does not provide access to its events. Incredibly sad considering that the UN claims to be the bastion of upholding human rights, and this whole climate change thing is supposed to be about making the planet a better place for everyone. And then, they can't even be bothered to include the person in a wheelchair. An official, an official in Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett's delegation said they had formally complained to organizers. Good. They're standing up for her. And Mr. Bennett said he would not attend on Tuesday if Miss El-Hur could not access the summit. The official added, that is really good for the Israeli delegation for standing by their minister. You see a lot of, and I'm not just in politics, but in general life as it is. A lot of times, there are situations where things are not accessible to the disabled person in a group of people. And that group of people will, not always, but more often than not, just kind of go, oh, well, I guess we'll just meet up with you later then, and go into whatever venue is not accessible to that one person. It's very sad. It's very unacceptable. It's not, Anyway, the UK's Environment Secretary, George Eustace, said the incident was, quote, deeply regrettable, and the government had apologized to Miss El-Hur, who has muscular dystrophy. Okay, so I was correct. It is muscular dystrophy. So, and then Mr. Eustace stuck his foot in his mouth and said, but he also appeared to blame the Israeli delegation, telling BBC Radio 4's Today program, quote, what would normally happen in this situation is that Israel would have communicated that they had that particular need for their minister. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that even if they hadn't communicated the need for an accessible entrance, which generally, people in wheelchairs, when they're going to places, they're pretty diligent about making sure it's a wheelchair accessible place. But, being that it's the United Nations, one would have had the right to assume that there would be an accessible entrance available. It's the United Nations. It's an international thing. Like, there are, it's in a country where, accessibility is not a foreign concept. There was obviously something that went wrong in this instance, and they weren't aware of that, so they hadn't made the right provisions at that particular entrance she was coming to. Okay, and nobody redirected her to an entrance with a ramp because why? Like, that's a cop-out. Oh, well, they didn't tell us that they had a minister in a wheelchair. So, it's their fault that once they got there and were at an inaccessible entrance that we didn't direct them to one that was. Or do you guys just not have any that are accessible? Which is kind of... Like, I really hate to pull the it's 2021, but I mean... Like, I hate the current year argument, but... If you're in an international summit of Western nations that have more disabled, there are disabled politicians from these countries. Like, come on. That's a cop-out. Mr. Eustace added, quote, I know that at most of the other entrances there is wheelchair access there. It was because she obviously came to an entrance that didn't have that provision. So why didn't someone direct the delegation to a different entrance? Why? Like, no. You guys, like, I guarantee you, I'm willing to bet that this lady tried to find out if she was going to a wheelchair accessible entrance, because people in wheelchairs, wheelchairs are not, even if you've got like the most state of the art wheelchair, they're not exactly easy to deal with, right? So you're going to want to make sure that when you're going into a building, you know beforehand whether or not you're going to have a hassle getting inside. So I am very unwilling to believe that she did not try to find out if the entrance she was going to was accessible. I also am very flabbergasted and would really like to know why organizers did not see the issue and redirect them to a ramp entrance. Like, obviously, the delegation from Israel is complaining for a reason. Like, the organizers really botched this. He faced some criticism for the remarks, with Lib Dem peer Labi Legford tweeting, quote, not the most gracious of responses for the COP26 host to blame the guest. Yeah. That, like, it's not, I'm fairly certain that it's well known that the Israeli environment minister is in a wheelchair. I'm pretty sure that is not a surprise to anyone. And I'm pretty sure that there was some, at least, attempt to notify the host. So this says, Ms. Elhor reportedly told Israel Channel 12 that she could not get onto the grounds of the conference because the only options were to either walk or take a shuttle that was not suitable for a wheelchair. That's not, she couldn't even get onto the grounds. Wow. So it wasn't even access to the building. She couldn't even get to the grounds. That's ridiculous. Her office told the Times of Israel she waited outside the venue in Glasgow for 2 hours, and she was eventually forced to return to her hotel in the Scottish capital, Edinburgh, 80 kilometers or 50 miles away. That had to be incredibly embarrassing. Like, you're the environment minister. Like, I don't agree with a lot of the pronouncements that are coming out of COP26, right? But whether or not I agree with what's happening there, this lady absolutely has a right to be there. She is a member of the delegation. She is an environment minister. She absolutely has a place there. And this was a complete botch by the organizers. An official in the Israeli PM's delegation said Mr. Bennett had told UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson about the incident, and Mr. Johnson had invited Ms. El-Hor to join a meeting between the two prime ministers on Tuesday. What? Like you do at school when... oh my god, that had to be even more humiliating. On Monday, UK Foreign Office Minister James Cleverly said he was, quote, deeply disappointed and frustrated Ms. El-Hor could not access the summit. Well, yeah, you're the host country. Like, it makes you look really, really bad. Quote, the COP venue is designed to be accessible for all. I have spoken to the ministers about this, and I look forward to meeting her on Tuesday, he tweeted. Then why did nobody get her into the grounds? If it's designed to be accessible for all, then why was no effort made at all to get her into the venue with her delegation? Like, I'm glad her delegation, stood up for her, and that one of the other ministers was like, if this isn't fixed by tomorrow, I will also not be attending. Like, that was, I'm glad. But this is a very big mess up on the part of the British organizers. And this is one of the reasons why, like, this is a specific accessibility issue that absolutely should be called out. And these, this is why it's frustrating and very hard for disabled people to even want to get into politics, because they get, even if their own team is on their side, they run into crap like this from hosts and opponents, and it's absolutely ridiculous. You claim on one hand that COP26 is supposed to be a way to figure out how to solve the, quote, climate crisis, and make this a place for everyone, and then you can't even let somebody who has an absolute place to be there in there because she has a wheelchair. Like, the absolute irony and absolute hypocrisy is just mind-boggling. Thank you for watching, my friends. I do hope you enjoyed today's coffee shot for Thursday, November 4th, 2021. Be sure to catch me tomorrow at noon for the coffee stream. Thank you. Goodbye.